What's up guys, Zach Caskagoon Miniatures back with part 2 of the Mortarion video. Gonna jump straight in, working on the fleshy bits. Base color is going to be Vallejo Game Air Warlord Purple. Just gonna base all the fleshy parts, all the little tubing and stuff like that, the ones that are on his legs, on the arms, coming out of his respirator. Just gonna base all those out, and then we're gonna slowly build this up. Gonna start working in Bugman's Glow. This is gonna be a mixture of like 2-to-1 Warlord Purple, Bugman Glow. Start working this up, and you keep working it up until you're pure Bugman Glow, and then you're gonna add in some Kislev flesh to that mixture, and just keep working this up brighter and brighter until you get a nice fleshy effect. You're gonna keep the highlights towards, you know, one end of the tubes to add like a stylized look. And then once you get your Kislev flesh pass on there, just go back with like a 2-to-1 mineral spirit streak and grime. Do a wash, and then just follow that up with a quick cleanup with a mineral spirits and a Q-tip. And then to finish it off, make sure you hit it with the gloss varnish. It'll give it that nice slimy skin look. Alright, so to follow this up, we're going to start working on the weapons, and both of these are going to be handled in the same manner. So you're going to come back with the Black Stynorez primer, and we're going to hit both the weapons. We are going to leave some of that under highlighting still showing. We want a good transition. We don't want it too pure of a black. And then we're going to do a slight highlight on both weapons with the Dark Reaper. So when you do the blade, not going to do anything like this on the gun, but when you do the blades on these, this is going to be pure mineral spirit over the blade, and then while it's still wet, still very wet, come in with the Ulthion Gray. The mineral spirits creates like a barrier, so the paint doesn't lay out like it should. It's going to beat up and just be more sporadic. And once you get like a cool little texture of Ulthion Gray on your blade, come back and do an edge highlight. Once the mineral spirits is dry, you can just throw an edge highlight on there of pure Ulthion Gray, and then you'll have like a transition of pure into this broken up patterny spray. With the same color, gonna come in and do some chipping, and the way that I do the chipping is I'm going to actually put the highlight on there first, and then once I get the highlight down, I'm going to the bare metal, like I'm going to be using streak and grind, or rust streak, sorry, and I'll put that on afterwards. But I'm going to paint the highlight that's going to be around the chipping first. This is kind of just easier for me. If you like to paint your distressing and then edge highlight, by all means, but this way is just the way that I do it. I think you have a little bit more control, and you can get a much finer highlight around your chipping when you do it like this. And go ahead and make sure you hit this metal ball and the spiking with the streaking, with the rust streaks while you got it out. Alright, so we're just gonna hit these little bones up with the Ulthion Gray as well, and then once we get that, it's pretty much based out coming in. This is the light crusted rust deposits. Just gonna hit up the metal around some of the rivets on the ball and the spikes there, and then we're gonna add a little bit of this into our chipping as well. Just a very slight amount, probably on like one side of a chip or something like that. You don't want to overpower them. So to follow that, this is streak and grime, 1-to-1 mineral spirits, streak and grime. Just going to cover up the blades after all that's dry, and the spinal column. And then we're going to just clean that with mineral spirits and a Q-tip. Going to leave some of that transition where the blade connects to the weapon. And once you get this done, make sure you hit this with a coat of matte varnish. Once everything's dry, go back with matte varnish, and then we're going to be using the AK Interactive Decay Deposits. We're going to come on with this pretty heavily. This is probably just straight out of the bottle here. It's pretty heavy. And then we're going to come back with Q-Tip Mineral Spirits. And this is a really cool effect. I think this gives it a really nice decayed pestilence type look to me. So that's why I chose the Decay Deposits. It's just that green, filthy look. And once that dries out, it's going to dry like a more lighter green and look very powdery. So on the gun, we did the same thing. The only difference on the gun was that we painted some silver bits, and we painted the end of the gun brassy brass, the Vallejo game color, and we did the same technique to weather it down. All right, so working on the wings. This is Druchny Violet airbrush 30 psi, and we're just going to create a transition here, just around where the transition from gray to black. That's where you're going to put your purple, and make sure it's a smooth transition. And we did it a little bit darker on the back of the wings. And once that's dried up, we're going to come in with the Decay Deposits again, and we're going to work this very heavily where the darkest purples are. And then once we get out towards the Ulthon Gray, we're going to start thinning this stuff down until it's just, you know, thin this down all the way up to like 6 to 1 parts. You know, just so where it's like a very thin wash, you know, just a tinting over the skin tone. And then, so once we get, you know, a good transition there, we're going to go back with a heavy, just down these little veiny lines. Because when we go to subtract this off, we want a lot to work with and get a good recess wash up against the side of those veins. So this is what we're looking like. You know, pretty heavy, pretty gross. Doesn't have to look anything special. We're going to make it look a lot better when we start to clean. So going in, Q-Tip Mineral Spirits, and we're just going to work this in, work a good fade from dark to light, keeping it heavy where the purple was. You know, letting some purple show, you know, just creating some good layering effects, some good, you know, different colors and stuff like that in there. And guys, once this stuff dries, it dries like a powdery, you know, it looks like pestilence. It looks like a, you know, like just an old decay. So next step after that is going to be very thin 4-to-1 distilled water Caribou Crimson, and we're going to start working these some of these little divots, pustules, holes, rips in the wings. Start working those in very thinly. You can use your brush and some water to kind of kill any edges that you have. So put that on there, and then going to follow that up with Blood for the Blood God. You know, put a 1-to-1 distilled water Blood for the Blood God mixture tightly around the rips, only on the rips. And then once you get that on, you're going to water it down a good bit, and you're going to do some very thin streaking. If the streaking is too bright and too loud, it does not look good. So make sure you thin this down. Follow that up with the Nurgling's Rot, and then just going to go over that. You know, once again, thick right around the edges of the rips, and then when you streak this down the wings, it's going to be very thin, thin down with water. So after you get all that on, this is Streak and Grime 1-to-1 Mineral Spirit Streak and Grime, and you're going to go over all the little divots, all the pustules that are on the white. You want to stay away from anything that's on the green. We're happy with that. We're going to leave that alone. Just put it on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Put it on there, and then come back clean with a Q-tip, and that's the process for the wings. Just keep working this until you get a really nice fade transition and just really gross looking wing. Alright, so what we did were his cloak kind of changes into this wispy smoke is did a really thin pass of Waywatcher Green glaze, and then we use the Game Color Verdigrease, and we're going to come back and we're going to start highlighting this while the glaze is still wet. This is very thin, and we're going to work this up slowly, adding more and more of the verdigris in there, and you know, first thin down with water, and then we just let it slowly build up to a more pure color. And then once we get it to the pure, we're going to start adding in Dead White from Vallejo Game Air, and this is going to be mixed in with the verdigris, and we're just going to pop some really nice highlights on here. And after that, guys, you're pretty much done. That's pretty much everything on the model. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it's easy for you guys to render. I'm trying to make tutorials that are you know, doesn't involve a tremendous amount of skill. I'm trying to make things, you know, beginner friendly, and using techniques that are applicable for everybody. You know, it's that's my goal, and I hope it's working out. Again, I appreciate you guys checking it out. Appreciate all the feedback that I've gotten while we've been working on the Death Guard series. Coming up in a future video, we're going to be looking at, I think they're releasing a tank Saturday. So we're going to be looking at a tank, and we're also going to be looking at basing. Probably before that, we'll do the basing, how we're going to base out our Death Guard miniatures that we've shown so far. And so we're tutorial on that and tutorial on the tank. And then after that, that's going to wrap up what we're working on for the Death Guard series, and we're going to move on to something else. I'd love to hear your suggestions, some things that you guys want to see. So far, I've heard, you know, people want to see some weathered Dark Eldar. I've heard orcs, Adeptus Mechanicus, you know, and I really want to make content that you guys are interested in. So please let me know what you want to see, so I can figure out the best course of action. But thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.